But basically, hello and welcome to the third in a series of webinars on hot topics in Southeast Asia's tech industry. This one is about new retail and all the ways that technology is changing the way brick and mortar shops sell. So I'm the host, Stephen Millward, with TechNode Global, and our expert panelists today are, let me introduce in the order I think that you see them on Zoom. So first up, it's Michael Lee. He's next to me. Michael Lee is the founder and CEO of SCash. And then next to him is Peter Scully, the managing director, Singapore and ANZ at WorldFirst. And then next to him is Derrick See, and Derrick See is the head of new retail at Lazada. And then next to him is Yang Kan, who is with Alibaba Cloud, which I'm sure you know is Alibaba's cloud power division. Okay, so those are our panelists, our experts for new retail. And I'd like to point out that we have a Q&A tab down the bottom in Zoom, so that we will devote time towards the end for a Q&As for our four experts. Okay, good. So before the first question, let's have our four experts introduce themselves briefly and tell us about how their new roles, or how their roles involve new retail in particular. So perhaps Michael first, he's next to me. Michael at SCash, hello.
Good afternoon. First of all, I thank TechNode for inviting us, and also Alibaba Cloud for recommending SCash. So in response to the question, I will probably break into 3 points. Number one, I will talk about our intro SCash. Number two, I will talk about what we do. And finally, what our role in this new retail. So before I go into I just share some statistics. So
okay, in brief, please. Yeah, thanks.
Sorry?
Yeah, a brief introduction would be good, thanks. And statistics are good too.
It's a tech-driven mobile solution providers for merchants. We empower and transform merchant business with integrated mobile payments and e-commerce capability via omni-channel and platform. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's SCash, thank you. And then next to him is Peter Scully at WorldFirst. Oh, sorry, Peter, you are muted, remember?
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for the invite. Now, WorldFirst is a global money transfer business owned by the Ant Group. And then we've built a global business by helping the retailers go global. Now, I've worked with businesses for the last 25 years. It's a long time, and it's changed. Our customer base today is no longer the huge retailer. It is very much focused on the small guy, the small retailer next door, right? And I think that sends a signal to us. Technology has leveled the playing field. Now, if you add a dash of innovation to that, you bring technology to life. And if you complement that further with a colorful customer journey, that will seal the deal. And to me, that is the crux of, I guess, my message. Retail today is no longer single dimensional. It involves a multi-dimensional strategy. And the word multi-dimensional is, in my view, an apt way to describe new retail.
Okay, and that's what you do at WorldFirst. Okay, thank you. And then Derrick at Lazada, how do you, what do you do, and what's it relate to new retail?
Yeah, so I think in Lazada, we, as an online marketplace platform, we noticed a trend in kind of the e-commerce and the retail world. My department, which is the new retail department, we looked at how we can empower sellers to with physical retail spaces. So whether is it sellers that have space in a mall, or whether sellers with their own retail space in the heartlands, how can we kind of partner with them to create to implement certain O2O strategies that would help them capture their customer and never lose a single sale. So kind of that's what my department was kind of, we conceived this year with a strong focus of understanding that we have a lot of sellers with physical stores and we want to help them to grow their business both online and offline.
Okay, good. Thank you, Derrick. And then Yang Kan, who's at Alibaba Cloud.
Hi, this is Yang Kan here. So new retail to me is a very exciting word. It means to me that we are transforming from the traditional business into omni-channel, so that you can have a lot of channels to approach your customers and then give them seamless experience and then convert them and providing them the personalized recommendations. So in Alibaba Cloud, actually we provide technology platforms, because if we want to run an effective new retail, you will need to have a lot of, no matter it's the cloud platforms to put your systems on, or you want to have some data intelligence to know better of your customers, or you may want to have more AI capabilities to, for example, search products by images or get personalized recommendations. So if you want to get a jump start, then we provide or we enable the businesses to have these kind of technologies, so that you don't have to worry about having a huge technology team to support your new retail initiatives.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you. So now we know our 4 experts here. Let's get into the first question. Let's start really with small retailers to begin with. So perhaps the biggest impact, for companies and shoppers, comes from small retailers. And so what kind of tech are we looking at for them? So I think like getting small stores to digitize by setting up easy online stores and cashless payments, that's maybe the best place to start. And that's what SCash does. So maybe Michael, can you tell us about your latest figures and what are you and your store owners doing on SCash?
Okay, thanks. So for SCash, we have a friendly and a robust app called the SCash Merchant app. So this app enables the merchant to collect a payment, convert the phone into a payment tool. So besides payment, this app can help the merchant to move from offline to online. So the merchant needs to scan a product and immediately it can share through an omni-channel in less than 3 minutes. Okay. So this merchant app not only can do payment and offline, it can issue vouchers and help merchants to generate sales in off-peak time, and even move a merchant from online to offline through e-vouchers. It can also do membership, inventory management, real-time transaction, and also stores. So actually, it's an all-rounder app that enables the merchant to generate revenue online and also reduce costs and also maximize their profit. Yeah.
Sorry, let me unmute myself. Okay, so how does it look like on the consumer end? Like which app do I download so that I get all those vouchers and stuff like that?
The consumer don't need to download. Merchant need to upload their photos on the SCash app, and immediately they created a mobile store. And the merchant can share the mobile store through omni-channel or platform. So in this case, they can share through their WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook to market to their customer. And the same mobile store is also possible to put on the #1 e-commerce platform in Singapore, Lazada, at the same time. So actually, it can use in different platforms. And for overseas, let's say a merchant wanted to sell to their Chinese tourists, SCash, this mobile app can even assist them to put into the mini program, and immediately they have access to 1.2 billion users. So that's how China Airport is using us currently to excite their sales. Yeah.
Okay. So good. So that's one way of doing things. I think that once small stores have got online and using a system like this, maybe a startup can sell them some other things, like sell them supplies, like a wholesale marketplace. And we've seen Grab do this recently with GrabMart, right? Does that kind of expansion make sense for retail startups like SCash or any other retail startup? Maybe Michael again.
So SCash is a merchant enabler. Actually, we can create a marketplace where the merchant can upload their product based on the location and receipt. Yeah, so they can put up their product into a certain small marketplace where upon scanning a QR, immediately as a customer, I don't need to download the app. I just once I scan the QR, I can access to the surrounding promotion and products around me, yeah, and make a purchase or reservation, you know, in a premise. So it creates a lot of awareness and convenience to the consumers.
Okay, so that's how you're expanding. Okay, okay. Okay, that's good. I know you've mentioned Lazada. You do work with Lazada. You're not just an offline rival to them. So maybe I can ask Lazada, your approach is a bit different in that you want small merchants to join a marketplace. Why would they do that rather than use some kind of retail software?
Well, I think there are pros to having your own website or your own retail software. I myself used to be kind of like a Shopify expert, helping sellers set up on Shopify as well. But what I've noticed is that after moving on to join the marketplace in Lazada, it kind of has two different things, right? The internet is a huge space. It's a wide universe. Setting up your own store is kind of like setting up one building in a huge universe. Whereas if you join a marketplace, you're setting up your shop in a mall that people go to, right? So in terms of getting the traffic that you want, in terms of attracting your customers, if you think about how a consumer would do shopping right now, unless you have a very strong brand presence, like say IKEA, that can survive with their own building, more naturally you would want to open your shop in a space where there is people coming to the place with the intention to shop, and I think that's where Lazada, being one of the top most popular online e-commerce platform, our reach to customers across the region, and also to people who actually are on the app, have the intention to purchase. They are already looking for items. And what I feel like when you come to do like marketing, I mean, setting up a store is easy, right? You upload products, you set the price, you throw some banners in, and then you have an online store. I think setting up an online store has reached a space where it is very easy now, whether is it through like SCash, or whether is it through e-commerce platform like Lazada. It doesn't take you much time to upload the SKU and set up you reach your customers after that, right? You can put the store up, but if you have no customers and no one's actually buying your items, then what's the point? And I feel that if you have your own store and you're doing your own marketing, let's say Google Ads, to try to attract traffic to your own store, your own website, it's akin to setting up a billboard on a highway. Right, when drivers are driving down the road, and then you are competing with many other billboards. It could be billboards on pharmaceuticals. It could be billboards just for banking. It could be billboards for branding purposes. There's so many kinds of different billboards, and the highway is driven by all sorts of people. Right? It could be a family that is it could be a family. It could be a single person. Like there's no differentiation in that particular highway. Whereas when you're putting it on an online platform, on a marketplace, you're putting up your signages. Like if you're investing in online marketing assets on the platform, you're putting up your signages in a mall where people already have the intention to purchase. And there's also this whole idea of cross marketing, right? So I could be going to a shop in a mall to buy a pair of Nike sneakers. Right, but I might walk past a Converse shop and I'd be like, oh, maybe I would get this Converse shoes as well. And there's this whole idea of exploration, and being able to get the traffic from your rivals, or maybe from a partnering brand as well. And I think that's the kind of the value that Lazada as an e-commerce platform brings to our sellers. So I think ultimately ease of setup is something that we all try to achieve. But ultimately, for a seller that is looking to sell, there is much investment needed into marketing, and I think it is much easier on a platform that already has customers that are looking to purchase. And I think that money goes a longer way on a social media, on an e-commerce platform than it is to put it out in the social media or in Google Ads. And that's kind of why in my place, I think there is a space for the e-commerce platforms.
Right. Okay. Okay. By the way, has Lazada said recently how many merchants it has?
No, we don't really review those numbers, but I think we definitely saw an increase in the sellers that are joining us because of the whole COVID situation. We are also seeing a lot of sellers or brands that were initially very adamant, kind of like reluctant to join the platform. I think we live in a world, well, pre-COVID, we live in a world where there is a contention between the retail physical store and the online e-commerce retail. I think the way companies have structured it in a way where sales from the store and online sales is often rivals. They don't share a KPI. There are two different departments, and in terms of if I set up the online store, essentially I'm stealing the sales away from the physical stores, and that causes rivalry and kind of like conflict of interest. And I think this is a model that has kind of like impede the growth of new retail, and the whole idea that retail is changing, the scene of retail is changing, and companies need to get on board on this. So for us, what we're noticing is these companies that are very reluctant to join us did join us recently because of COVID. We saw some sellers that came on board in the last 3 months that are super highlights to me. For example, Marks & Spencer. I love Marks & Spencer. I grew up eating Marks & Spencer stuff. And now they are on Lazada and on Redmart. And, they're in my cart on a weekly basis now, right? So I can chomp on the chocolate cookies. Popular also recently came onto Lazada. And their sales has been phenomenal during this period. I think, with parents staying at home doing teaching with their kids, them having the ability to reach a platform, where they can buy the books and stuff, they actually saw pretty good sales during this period. But I think what I mentioned is also this big brand.
Sorry, I think we'll, apologies to cut you off, but I think we'll get around to the virus a little bit later, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, good. So we can hear from everybody on the virus. I think you'll all have some adjustments to tell us about there. Okay, thank you. So we've heard about the local angle from SCash. We've heard about the marketplace angle from Lazada. How about the global merchant angle from WorldFirst? What does Peter see? Because you have like World Account, right? Which is for small merchants doing cross-border business, so they can like collect overseas sales, convert the currency, and then pay their own suppliers. So does that work on any marketplace? And what else can you tell us? And you're muted, by the way.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, I think starting, as Derrick articulated so well, starting an online business is no longer difficult, right? I think the key is now starting an effective online strategy, and that is more important. Part of the strategy must be going global, right? If you don't go global, you will continue to be limited, and you will die a natural death. Now, whether you're going to operate on a global marketplace like Lazada, Amazon, eBay, or even if you're a Shopify, store, right? I think a key pain point that the smaller retailer will find is how do you bring your money back effectively? How do you avoid, the huge charges that everybody charges you when you bring your money back? A key pain point for most retailers is opening up an overseas bank account, and it's a nightmare with the bricks and mortar institutions that we have called banks. That is a key pain point. And I think in terms of new tech, the new fintech companies make it very easy. We are able to provide a very small retailer with the ability to reach globally in many countries, the ability to receive local currency and pay out local currency like a local, right? We give you the World Account, which is a free multi-currency account, where it gives you the transparency to see what comes in. It gives you the control to decide when you want to bring it back, or if you want to then pay it out like a local to another supplier in that country, and we do it in a very cost-effective manner, right? I think that that has opened up and leveled the playing field for a lot of small retailers who in the past would not have been able to operate globally as effectively as the big boys. I think that's what we brought to the market over the last couple of years. We've seen a huge boom in places like China, where a small Chinese merchant would find it impossible to sell in Australia and receive and pay out like an Australian, right? Or in the US, for example. We support over 90 global marketplaces. Of course, Lazada is a key marketplace for us, and so is Amazon and eBay. And I guess the stats is we practically dominate the huge inbound market in Singapore with regards to foreign marketplaces coming back to Singapore. I think we're pretty much the dominant player, serving most of the Singapore merchants.
Good. So that means any kind of marketplace like wish.com or Amazon.com, of course.
Yes, and we make the integration seamless. So it's just a matter of keying in a bank account number, and then you get the funds allocated to that bank account number, which then we give you the flexibility to see when it comes in, how much comes in, and give you the control then to decide what you want to do with it.
Okay, thank you. Let's think about Alibaba Cloud angle for a second. I believe you work with SCash, right? So how does that work? How does that help the small retailers?
Yeah, so we actually work with SCash and many these type of ISVs so that we can make them to be more cost effective and then to speed up their product developments. And then so one of the things that Derrick mentioned just now is very interesting, that in the company that want to transform into new retail, they will set up an online team. So usually this online team will compete with the offline team. So actually, to me, the true new retail should be the online offline integrated. So the experience should be that the customer be able to purchase something online, and then they will be book something online, and they will be complete the transaction offline, or they will be experience the product offline and then put the order online. So that actually requires omni-channel operations. Means that you manage orders, you manage your inventory, product listings across all the channels, no matter it is online or offline. So that will give a customer a true new retail experience, seamlessly between online and offline. So for such kind of practices, actually Alibaba Cloud, we actually are learning from our internal practices and then coming up with methodologies so that our partners or our customers can benefit from to run a better true new retail business.
Okay, thank you. Let's get over to the next aspect, which is about big retailers, actually. Let's think, what can big retailers do at the moment? For example, there's a lot of new retail tech that I'm seeing popping up in shops. Something like magic mirrors, when you have augmented reality, for example, at a cosmetic store to show you what the cosmetics would look like without putting them on, that kind of thing. So what do you all think big brands should be doing right now, either online or in their brick and mortar shops? And maybe Lazada can start on this, because I know that you do some new retail stuff, like there's a shop involving Korean cosmetic companies, and I think you have a magic mirror of some kind there. So maybe Derrick can start.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. So we do work with big brands and small brands, small sellers. So for one of our initiatives last year was that we worked with Amore Pacific, which is a beauty conglomerate in Korea, one of the biggest. So they have the brands such as Innisfree, Laneige. Essentially, most of the popular Korean beauty brands that we are aware of falls under Amore Pacific. And they wanted to kind of bring in more brands that are Korean exclusive that hasn't been in Singapore yet. So so for example, they have I'm blanking out on the brands that are the exclusive brands, but they basically opened a store in Funan with collaboration with Lazada, and we made it kind of like a entirely online kind of present store where all the SKUs are available for purchase on Lazada. And the customers are just going into the store more for experience purpose, and then they will make their purchase of the Lazada app. I think what we have done in the store is also to create a little bit more of on kind of a high-tech experience. So we actually installed a skin analyzer in the store that would take a picture of your face, and it kind of tells you like, what kind of skin you have. And it will do a recommendation engine of the kind of products that we have in the store that you could purchase. And then you're able to purchase on the spot as well, with the QR codes that are there. And I think this is something that Lazada will continue looking at as well, how we can work with bigger brands or even like departmental stores such as Robinsons and all this kind of bigger companies to think about how we can join the online and offline experience. I think there are things that in the online world that we can offer that the offline world does not have. And so it's kind of like, how do we implement such all these small little things around the physical stores to enhance the experience of the customer? Because I think the whole idea of new retail is really to improve the customer experience. It's not about moving sales online or stealing sales here and there. It's really about improving the customer experience.
Oh, really? Okay. So that's one good example with that cosmetic store in Singapore. While you're here, maybe what kind of major brands do you have on Lazada? Can you tell us? And how do you work with them differently to small merchants?
So I think, of course, the bigger brands are way harder to work with, in my opinion, because there are regional offices, there are lots of red tape that we have to go through to get approvals and whatnot. Whereas working for small seller, we would just go down to the shop, speak to the boss who is at the counter, and then he says, "Yeah, let's do it." And then in a few days we are ready to go. Whereas with a big brand, we are talking to the manager, then we're talking to the country manager, then we're talking about the regional manager, and then there's a whole lots of meeting to get it all approved. So that's why my department's kind of set up in two, where we have two different projects, two different kind of lines moving, where we work with bigger brands to do stuff. So I think right now we are kind of looking at how we can improve our relationship with malls, and how we can build an O2O experience with malls with a whole list of sellers. So kind of like how Lazada is an online marketplace, a mall would be a offline marketplace, right? So how do we kind of join the experience together with the mall to create a similar kind of virtual experience for them, so the customer gets to shop whether they are at the physical location or whether they are at home. So I think that's something that we're working on. And then with the smaller sellers, what I'm working with them is the whole idea that I think we often make new retail or this whole O2O thing to be a very high-tech and a very kind of like a fancy tools kind of thing. Like, for example, this magic mirror. And I mean, our small sellers can't really afford a magic mirror. It's a few $1,000 investment, right? So what can we do to kind of like improve the customer experience, even in the store, and leveraging on what they have on the online resources? So what we're working on in Lazada is to kind of work with smaller sellers, with retail stores, to kind of think about how they can improve their store with their Lazada assets. So for example, reviews, right? Product reviews, you can't have it on the offline. You can't possibly be pasting like stickers and asking customers to write post-it notes. Whereas on online, you have the whole review section of the products, and a seller could possibly feature the products that are highly rated by their customers in the store. So that's kind of one thing that I'm trying to get my sellers to do, where they are highlighting certain products in their store that are highly rated by customers and having the QR codes there for them to scan into the Lazada product page, where customers are able to read the reviews and able to make a more holistic decision into purchasing, right? Or another one that we recently saw in a store was a kitchen appliance store. And I was looking into how does the the sous vide thing that's really trendy now, the machine that kind of circulates the water to make sous vide meat. And that kind of thing is not running all the time, right? You can't keep the thing running there, and you can't have someone to show how it works. You can't have a staff there that's constantly standing there showing you how to work this machine. Whereas, you could store the video in the Lazada app, under your product page, right? And the customer is able to scan the product and watch the video of how it works. And I think all these small little elements that we already have on our online world, that is nothing to do with these fancy magic mirrors, are actually going to help a customer make a more sound decision or push the customer towards making a purchase in the physical store as well. And so that's kind of what Lazada is working with smaller retailers to kind of help them implement these small little improvements in the physical stores that would enhance the customer experience.
Okay, good example. So not expensive and much more simple than I think we were expecting, like literally just a QR code or something.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, we're talking about mom and pop stores sometimes, right? I mean, we're talking about a store that is, selling some TVs just below some heartland area. They don't have that budget to buy a fancy machine or whatsoever, but they are on Lazada. They are on online. And they do have certain things that they can leverage on to make the retail experience more holistic.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts from anybody else on larger retailers? There's a lot more tech that could be done. Yeah,
I think Derrick has sort of summarized a key point. It's the word customer experience, and what comes to mind is in the past, when we go shopping, we think about it. Why do we go shopping? Yeah, a few of us will walk in, buy what we want, and we walk out. But most of us window shop, right? And it's an experience. We want to window shop. We have fun, right? But today, that's sort of out the door. But it's not really out the door. How can you window shop online? It's called customer experience, is what Derrick was talking about, right? And why do marketplaces win? Because part of it is the customer experience. They've got variety, right? So I think that big retailers need to look at themselves. Are they giving that customer experience? Are they participating in a online window shop experience? What are they doing? I think big retailers are at risk because of the ability of small retailers to set up shop online easily and come up with sort of alternative lookalike products, right? That puts the big retailers at risk. So I think for big retailers is again, how do you create your brand loyalty? How do you differentiate yourself? And how do you now create that window shopping online experience that keeps your customers engaged? How do you make it easy for them to access your products? I think that's the game they got to think about, because it's all about the customer experience and the journey, right?
Okay, good point. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you were thinking about like direct to consumer startups, but they could be a good example of coming in out of nowhere to challenge major brands like Adidas and Nike and things like that. Okay. Any other thoughts about big retailers and new retail?
We have a similar experience with Alibaba Cloud for a reputable airport. So we are introducing things like AI, understanding customers' behavior and interests. So we are developing a library by understanding how they buy. So in the future, it's no longer just that we come out a product and we market through media. More likely that we understand the customer's behavior and then we push the right product to what they want. So it's more customer focused moving forward instead of a full range of product offer.
Okay, so that involves AI, you mentioned. How does it work in practical terms? Like when I go into the shop, how does it follow me, or how does it know me?
So it's a process. So in our example, in this airport, what we do is that we introduce a chatbot, robotic service, and finally we have an AI. So what happened here is that we have a new experience through our current program called a mini program, where the Chinese tourist comes in, they articulate what they want to buy. Immediately, the robot will respond and pick up the goods they have in the airport, so they can arrange for them to pick it up before they leave. And then when they buy, their profile is being captured, and then it's stored, and then it becomes numerous times. All this, it becomes a pattern, you see. It becomes their behavior profile. So in the future, when these guys came back again, we know that this person likes Adidas. So we can throw a voucher, we can introduce a voucher to him to excite him to buy a next item. Yeah, because we know his personal preference. So that's how we are implementing in the marketplace now.
Okay, so that mini program is inside Alipay, I guess, for Chinese tourists. Oh, okay, I think so, yeah. Okay, so speaking of Alibaba Cloud, well, Alibaba, I mean, in China, they have a supermarket chain called Fresh Hippo. Well, that's the English, translation name anyway. So maybe Yang can tell us what kind of tech does it have, and is this kind of thing going to go global for major supermarkets or major retailers?
So Fresh Hippo is really an interesting case for us. So there are several things involved in how to make it happen. The first is about how to manage the supply chain. Because one of the key selling point of Fresh Hippo is that it sells the very fresh food, and then it with a very good price. So to make it happen, the supply chain needs to be a lot better planned. For example, we need to forecast the demand. We need to understand what kind of SKU is favored by what kind of customers. So we use data analytics to do that. How do we do that is basically we leverage the online channels and offline channels to see customers. If I use a technical term, it's about a click screen, but what it really means is to understand customers' online behavior in every single aspect, so that we also push for our membership, so that once customer join the membership, then we know more about the customer. So we make the customer serviceable. And then with that, we will know what customer wants, what kind of customer segments is prefers what kind of categories. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we build really the omni-channel operation, means that we use a single system to operate online and offline, so that customer won't have the hassle of being able to purchase online but cannot do the refunds or complete the transactions offline kind of hassle. And then also we build a very complete delivery network, so that we can enable the deliveries to reach to the customer within a couple of hours, and then it is free. So those are several technologies that we make the Fresh Hippo success. Yeah, and then also just when we talk about the recommendation engines to personalize the pages, and then really create an online shopping guide, so that customer can go to the page and then they don't have to do too much of navigation. They can enjoy a shopping experience using the mobile apps, and then they will most likely find what they want in the first few products. So that is what we do in Fresh Hippo. And then I cannot disclose whether this Fresh Hippo is going to be globalized or not, but I think this is a good reference case that the larger retailers, especially running the fresh food industries, fresh food categories, could reference to.
Okay, good examples. Okay, so there's some tech behind the scenes and some tech that people see. Okay, that's good. Because I guess when people think about automated supermarkets or stuff like that, they might think about robots or stuff, but yeah, it's more behind the scenes sometimes. I think there's some ways that Alibaba has been lucky as well. Like, for example, you could order fresh food to be cooked and then delivered to you. So that proved to be lucky in the post-COVID era. That's the kind of thing people would want. So, okay, yeah, interesting. Okay, so let's move on to what's the next section? Oh yes, we're going to go back to Yankan because we were thinking about the Singles Day, because I guess that's another good example that combines huge retailers and tiny retailers. So if you have like a sales promotion day, you know, in China, the Singles Day, and that's spread worldwide as well. It's in Southeast Asia on Lazada and lots of other sites too. So can you tell us more about the day, and you know, what does it mean to retailers?
So Singles Day is the IP that invented by Alibaba Cloud, by Alibaba Group. So Singles Day becomes a brand which really is kind of a brand that the major events or major promotions or even the new product release can be put into this Singles Day. So since 2 years ago, Singles Day becomes not only an online shopping festival, it's a omni-channel shopping festival. And then in this, there's actually another purpose of doing this is because running a omni-channel or running a new retail is actually complicated in terms of systems. We need to facilitate the deliveries, we need to facilitate the payments, we need to make sure that our systems can handle such a large amount of transactions. So it is actually a test for ourselves to make sure that Alibaba, we ourselves, have enough, no matter it's the business capability or computing power to support such kind of a scale of business. And then from technology point of view, it is provided by Alibaba Cloud. So that is about Singles Day. And then in last year's Singles Day, you will see actually a lot of new things coming up. For example, the major brands starts to release the new products in Singles Day. And they are live streaming or live broadcasting kind of sales happening since last year. So those are the new things coming up. So to me, Double 11 Singles Day is one of the major IP for the shopping festival. It is the technology test to make sure that the infrastructure is good. And then it is the innovative platform that we can always come up with new ideas and put into this single thing.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, good. So it's not just about the discounts, that's important. I guess at the beginning it started out as being about discounts, but now, like you said, it's about launching new products, you know, ready for November 11, or, you know, live streaming on November 11. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, I remember interviewing a smallish or medium-sized handbag maker in China many years ago, and he said that something like 20% of their sales came on and around, you know, Singles Day. So it was important for them to get it right, basically, with so much demand compressing into like this 2-week period. So okay, that's good news. Okay, so let's move on. Before we do the Q&A, maybe anything you'd like to tell us about the impact of the virus? So, you know, is it changing anything for you this year? And also thinking about small retailers or big retailers, how is it going to change them? Anybody would like to jump in?
I can start. So I think for Lazada being an online platform for e-commerce, this is technically a great time for us, right? You know, customers are coming in. We're seeing many new customers, many new sellers signing up. I think what was great that during this period, what Lazada could offer was with conjunction with kind of like the Singapore government to offer a grant that was applied from the government to help sellers get on board onto Lazada. And I think that is a super good thing that the government allowed us to do, where we, you know, seller just need to put a small little investment, and that investment go a long way in terms of getting the seller set up with support from our, you know, key account managers, you know, getting support with some marketing credits, and to be able to showcase their products on our platform. And I think this allows the small sellers to actually play in the big game, right? Now they are able to have that with the grant from the government, they are able to have the money to play in the marketing assets that would not have usually been available for them. We're looking at you know, the budget that was given by the government is about $10,000, you know, of marketing credits that we give as Lazada. And this $10,000 is something that a small seller would not be able to have afforded usually. But now, you know, with this, they're able to kind of play with the big boys, getting a homepage banner on our app, being able to be part of a campaign and offer more visibility for their products during a campaign. And I think that's something that myself, because as part of the team that is looking after sellers with retail stores, we are kind of like looking into how we can help sellers with retail stores use this grant to be able to grow their business online and offline. And I think we have definitely seen some great success stories. I mean, just now we're talking about how sellers might have their own platform. They might have their own store, and they might have the Lazada platform. One of the sellers that came on board with us during this period is a grocery kind of a category. After he came on board, he realized that his sales on Lazada actually was twice his sales on his own online website that he had for a couple of years, right? But he came on board on Lazada, and within the 2 months, his Lazada sales was actually twice the amount of his regular store. And I think that kind of shows the reach and the power that we have as an e-commerce platform during this period to kind of support sellers to tide over the kind of like a downturn that we are receiving from this whole COVID situation.
Okay. Can I ask about the blended online offline retail thing that you've been experimenting with? Like that cosmetic store. I mean, one of the Q&A questions we have here is, do you think people will want to touch products when things return to normalcy, which might reflect your pop-up shops or your touchy-feely new retail shops? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think there is touching might be a bit harder moving forward, but there is still the other sides. I mean, the other senses, right? You still have smell, you still have sight, and you still have hearing and all this kind of stuff. That is still part of the whole retail experience, the whole customer experience. And I think that is something at Lazada we want to bring to the customer, a more interesting experience as compared to just looking at it from the Lazada app. I think we want to bring more to the customer for that. And that's why we're working with retailers, with physical stores to understand how we can build a more interesting experience for the customers.
Okay, fair enough. Any other thoughts on the virus before we jump to the Q&A, I guess?
With the the virus, I think there's this thing called the new norm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So retailers are experiencing less walk-in. Yeah. So and as a result, it accelerates our SCash solution. So last month, our classes are fully filled up. Currently, we have these classes sponsored by the government under the Skill Future. So we're inviting merchants to come to our classes for a day to understand what our app can do for them. So we are seeing our class being fully booked up even in June and even July. For now, merchants are more excited to learn about digitization and how to move from offline to online, and then make themselves more visible online and get more business. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Any other thoughts on the virus situation? Anything you're changing?
Well, for me, I think what struck me most is someone in Singapore, if I recall, said that COVID is a wake-up call for retailers. And I think that's such an apt statement, and it's so deep and powerful. COVID is a wake-up call for retailers. And it's so true, because if you're not moving, you're going to be dead. And I think that the pace of movement with technology is going to... Today, we talk about marketplaces. We talk about, Lazada. We're talking about Amazon, eBay. I think that these marketplaces are, within the blink of an eye, going to reinvent themselves. I think it's no longer going to marketplaces and looking for stuff. You're going to be able to almost window shop, try goods, look at yourself in the shop, putting on a pair of jeans. I think it's going to get to that level because everybody's going to move to a window online shopping experience. And the marketplaces are going to compete with each other for more shelf space. So I think it's exciting news for the consumer because he's going to be sport for choice, and he's going to see a different dimension in terms of the retail space. It's going to be very exciting to me.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Any other thoughts, or we can move on to the Q&A, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's time for the Q&A then. I'm just looking through these quickly. Okay. I think we've answered the one about customer confidence after the virus, really. So how about this first one here? If you're putting up your store on an online marketplace, you have the problem that you are racing to the bottom of the price war, maybe. How will you woo your customers to buy your product? But, do you have to lower your price? If there are 5 clients who have the same black mask sourced from China, one is $1, one is 90 cents, I guess you'll buy the cheapest one. So yeah, that's a big problem for smaller merchants, whichever marketplace they use. Any thoughts on the race to the bottom?
I mean, this is definitely a kind of economics kind of thing, right? Customers' behaviors, you buy the cheapest. But actually, what we're noticing on Lazada and what we're noticing in the consumer behavior now, and this is something I've been talking to a lot of small sellers about as well, is that customers are becoming more picky. We are starting to realize that customers are understanding, as they shop more online, they understand the different values or like the value proposition that a seller is bringing. So it could be that the seller has a faster fulfillment time, right? So one could be $1, one could be 85 cents, but the $1 one could be delivering it in 2 days, and the 85 cents could be delivering in 10 days. You have this kind of difference in logistics. You have seller review as well, so you know whether the seller is authentic, right? And whether the other customers approve of the items. And then, you have also this whole thing that I'm trying to explain to sellers about brand equity. I think we may be a platform, but there is a brand equity to the seller as well. If a customer knows your brand and has shopped in your store before, it is more likely that the customer will shop at your store again than to try out another store, even though it's slightly cheaper. I think, yes, there is definitely the opportunity. There is definitely that chance that you might lose a sale because someone is offering at a cheaper price. But that is for all any physical store, or it's just the world of our free marketplace, right? But what we have to understand is that there is a consumer behavior change that, like, these things like brand equity, seller reviews, seller integrity. Like, for example, in Lazada, we have the last mall branding, where essentially it's Lazada kind of guaranteeing authentic products, delivered at a better service, and better returns policy and all this kind of stuff. But I think the key here is authenticity, right? And we have shoppers that are looking for authentic stuff, and they want to make sure that their whole journey is protected. And so for myself, even though if I see an item that is selling at $30 in that is cheap, but it could be on last mall, it could be $35, I'm willing to pay the extra $5 for the ease of mind, right? And so I think it comes down to how you, like any business, is how you pitch yourself. Price war is definitely one of them. Price is obviously which one is lowest the best. Is for that will attract more people. But there are other elements to it that you could build. Whether is it live stream, to sell your products better. Whether it's the way you showcase your products, more information. Whether you get customers to make more reviews so that there's more confidence in the purchase. All these elements do play a part as well, and it should not be just the way.
Okay, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, fair enough. Thank you. That's good. I personally tend to look for somebody making their own very good quality photos to go with the product, even if they're selling the same old, thing that they've sourced wholesale. At least they can take decent photos of it. But yeah, there are lots of ways to do it right. Okay. Anybody want to pick any question themselves from the Q&A, or I can pick another one. I'm just scrolling right the way to the bottom. We don't have to pick the most voted, I guess. Let's see. Oh yeah, we've talked about live streaming before, and there is a question about live streaming, so maybe that one. Do you see the trend of live streaming continuing, and has this helped to increase sales for merchants, whether big or small, it doesn't matter. Has anybody been trying it?
Yeah, I mean, on Lazada, we have live stream, and it's kind of like we're moving towards a trend of how Taobao has their live stream for individual sellers as well. Right now, Lazada has its own channel of live stream where we only feature Lazada products. As in, we have our just Lazada channel. We don't open it up to sellers, but in some other countries we do. And we are slowly doing that. The whole idea is more for brand protection and to make sure that everyone that's live streaming is actually doing legit live streaming. But yes, it has been proven to be very effective on Lazada itself. Items that get featured on the live stream, and we do get a lot of people joining the live stream, they do very well. But I think the whole idea of live stream is kind of the engagement that we have with the customer, right? You're able to showcase the product. You're able to answer questions from customers. You're able to provide some fun elements to it as well, where you can show vouchers, and then you could limit the time where you say, hey, if you purchase it now, you get 5% off or something like that. I think all these mechanics that we have on live stream to engage the customer has changed the way online shopping is, and I think it's only gonna be furthermore. And I think some parts in Lazada, like the department that I'm working with, we are thinking about how we can expand this live stream to more sellers and to get them accessibility to this tool for them to reach more customers. Because we definitely do see a good uplift in sales during these live streams.
Okay. Here's just something that I'm thinking of at the moment, but maybe live streaming is good for like somebody in Singapore live streaming to Singaporeans. That makes sense. Somebody in Indonesia streaming to Indonesians, but it doesn't really work globally. Maybe I think any ways that you can improve cross-border online selling. Any thoughts on that?
The Alipay mini program, and it's one of the platforms ecosystem that we can cross-border. It's one of the ways we can attract Chinese tourists to buy from us, as we have demonstrated in our latest Changi Airport project deployment. Last 2 weeks, we received a lot of sales transactions coming from Changi Airport where there's no tourists. So we're wondering why. So what happened is the stores in Changi Airport are sharing their store QR to their Chinese clients, and then their purchases was made, and then the delivery was done. So that was another way we can do this to reach out to cross-border. Yeah.
Okay, I think Steven might have accidentally dropped, and I guess we have some time for the very last question. Is there any question that the panelists would like to pick up? It is answered, and or perhaps panelists can actually give your so-called your like one last statement to wrap up this whole retail webinar. Anyone would like to go? Yes.
So I think the word in the box is called ultra convenience. Okay, as long as we can make things easy to do business with, I think that is going to be the key moving forward. Okay, merchants have to realize that to make themselves easy to do business with. Okay, so that is the word in the box called the ultra convenience, to digitize themselves so that people can do business with them easily.
Okay, thank you, Michael. What about Peter or Derrick? I saw that you have unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I think for me is I think as we mentioned, like businesses to realize that this COVID situation is kind of the wake up call for all businesses. We need to rethink the way we understand the online sales and offline sales, right? The online experience and the offline experience. We need to think about. Sellers really need to think about how they can leverage their offline store to increase their online sales, and how they can leverage their online store to increase their offline sales. How can I use my online platform to drive traffic to my store? And then how can I get the customers who came to my store to have repeat purchases that don't require my customer to come back to the store. They could continue repeating their purchases from the comfort of their home, right? And this whole idea that growing your business with this dual strategy that you have both on the online and offline platform has to be really, sellers really need to start thinking about how they can do that. And us from Lazada's side, that's what we want to help the sellers to do.
Right, so it's a complementary effort. And I saw that
Right.
Stephen is back again. So, anyway, Stephen, just an update. I was getting the panelists to give their final statement to wrap up the webinar. So, I guess Peter can go next, followed by Yang Kan.
So, with this digitization of retail business, actually we see a lot of opportunities for the retailers to know better of their customers because the behaviors and then their what they do on the retail journey, on the shopping journey is digitized. So you can better utilize this and then to find out where your target customer is, what do they like, and how do you improve your supply chain and so on. So I think that is definitely an opportunity.
Yeah, I guess as a parting statement, I'd say that selling online is no longer a strategy. It has become a basic selling tool, right? How do you bring your products into the living room where it's fun and provides a customer experience, right? I think traditional window shopping was an experience in the past that people enjoyed. Make that happen online with your products, right? Now, and don't limit yourself to your neighborhood, right? Going global is no longer difficult. With the World account as an example. Attract global customers to your window shop and provide a multi-dimensional customer experience with innovation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, apologies for my own connection issues at the end. So did everybody finish their closing statements? Yes, good. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's really good. So thank you to our four guests, Michael at SCash, Derrick at Lazada, Peter at WorldFirst, and Yang Kan at Alibaba Cloud. Please stay tuned to the TechNode Global site for future webinars. And thank you to our live audience as well for the questions and their support. So have a good day. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, take care.